Hey guys, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jamie.
And this is Zack and Jamie Need to Know.
That's cute. I love every time we do that. Okay, this is our podcast, and basically what happens is when we want to know something, we just podcast about it, and that's literally what we're doing right now.
Not want to know. We need to know.
We need to know. Okay, we need to know, why do they burn witches?
Yeah, why do they burn witches in Salem?
No, why do they burn witches? So why didn't they decapitate witches, or why was burning the method of death is what I want to know.
I'm pretty sure they weren't witches, but
no, why did they choose to burn the witches?
It was like a witch test.
I know that witches could drown, right? They can't, so that wouldn't work. I want to know if they burned witches because that's the only way they thought they could kill them, or alternatively, it was that test, because you know how if you sink, you're a witch, but if you float, you're human. No, or whatever.
Isn't that the test you're supposed to do for eggs? Like if it floats, it's bad, or if it sinks, it's bad. I don't remember which, but how to tell if an egg's rotten.
So did you know if you break an egg into a glass and it goes all crazy on you, then you're cursed?
You probably already cursed if you're breaking an egg into a glass. Most people break it into a pan or a bowl.
No, you're trying to find out if you're cursed. That's how you find out with the We should do it. We should find out if we're cursed later.
I'm good without knowing whether or not I'm cursed.
Well, if you're cursed,
if I am, I don't think I want to know. And if I'm not, then I'm good.
If you're cursed, we need to break the curse.
Nah, it's how? I don't even know who would curse me. I got a few suspects, I guess, who might curse me, but they shouldn't have cursed me. Why are we cursing people? That sounds ridiculous.
I don't know why we're cursing people.
Is this why witches got burned? Because they were cursing people?
Let's find out. Why did witches get burned? I want to know why they chose to burn witches.
I don't really know that much about Salem. Let's just Google Salem Witch Trials.
When was it?
Period.
Now that it said date, it's like 1600s, right?
Time period. We were
1600s.
And Salem, what? Massachusetts? Or?
Yes.
So this wasn't even America.
When was America founded?
Well, 1776 is when we signed the Declaration of Independence, right?
So wait, but this was still Salem. But weren't we still America? So wait.
So hold on, before you get too far down this,
we weren't the United States yet.
Before you go too far, my point in being is, if this is pre-America, were they burning witches in England and stuff too? Was this something they brought over with them?
Let's find out. Okay, yeah.
It didn't just start here, is what I'm saying.
Do they burn so the Salem Witch Trials
might help if I could
a series of investigations. Okay, 19 convicted witches to be hanged, and these witches were hung.
From June 1692 to May 1690. That's a really short period. I thought it was like a decade.
That's not. I want to know when the burning witches happened. When did we burn witches in Salem?
This is Britannica. That's a pretty good source. I'm coming in here.
We should.
So the Salem Witch Trials from June 92 of the 1600s to May of 93, also of the 1600s.
But that's not even that long. Began in Europe. You were right. They began in Europe between the 1300s, and they ended in the 1300s to the 1800s? The last known execute for witchcraft took place in Switzerland in 1782.
Just straight up witch hunts were occurring in Europe between 1300 and 1330. So they don't really know quite when they started. Just sometime around the turn of the century. But why did they
burn? I want to learn more about the burning.
Last known execution for witchcraft taking place. See, and this just says execution, not strictly burning. So were there other ways they killed witches?
Right. I want to know. Well, yes, because the Salem Witch Trials, they were hung.
The last execution took place in 1782.
Did you see that? The Salem Witch Trials, they were hung.
Dude, that's only like a little over 200 years ago.
That people were killed for being witches.
In Switzerland, at least.
Look at this. Hang on. It is generally believed that some 110,000 people were tried for witchcraft, and between 40 to 60,000 were executed.
Okay? Oh, that's like a 50% kill rate.
Well, by the time if you accuse someone of witchcraft, whose burden of proof does it become? The accuser or the accusee to prove I'm not a witch, or do you need to prove I am a witch?
back then it was obviously I have to prove I'm not a witch, and these days it's you're innocent until proven guilty.
Here's the thing, though: if you were a witch,
may vary there.
If you were a witch, then you could prove that you weren't a witch. Like, the only people that probably got burned were actual non-witches.
That sucks.
This is some catch-22 bullshit, right?
So the real witches, if there were some, is just hanging out in the back of the crowd, just chilling. Dang, well, better than that. At least they didn't catch me.
Well, that bitch did sleep with my husband. Maybe the witches put other people on trial. We don't have this information.
Maybe they were just using it like Mean Girls to go after whoever they didn't like.
I mean, all the shirts say like, you're the daughters of the witches you didn't.
I don't know anything about it, but that seems like too much effort.
I like how we've now created this world for witches, where which they are mean girl witches.
It's funny because we're setting the scene while this says setting the scene.
There were two Salems in the late 17th century, a bustling, commerce-oriented port community in Salem town, which would involve a modern stabling, and roughly 10 miles inland from a smaller, poorer farming community of some 500 persons. Okay, the village itself had a noticeable social divide that was exacerbated by a rivalry.
I could tell already the village is where everything was going wrong.
It's got to be, right?
Putnams, I done heard about them back in history class, although we didn't get into all of this.
Putnam is a good name, like Charlie Putnam.
Well, that's cool.
2 slaves from Barbados. There's uncertainty. Okay. Oh. Some scholars believe they're Native American. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, I've heard that.
His name was John Indian. Oh, Puritans.
Voodoo.
Hey, voodoo! Now we're getting into some cool stuff. Fortune telling at age 12.
This was Abigail Williams.
3 kids stimulated by voodoo tales.
But they came from Barbados. Like, voodoo is a pretty common practice there, right?
So who were these kids?
So in January of 1692, here's when it happened. Everything happened. Fits and contortions.
These are Orthodox kids, age 9, 11, and 12.
Yes.
Doing fortune telling.
And now they did the fortune telling, and they went into fits. They screamed, made odd sounds, threw things, contorted their bodies, and complained of biting and pinching sensations.
Pinching, huh?
Oh, they may have resulted from asthma and stuff. I mean, it sounds like these kids had bed bugs, if I'm being real.
I actually heard Lyme disease explains a lot of what was going on in
Click it, like
witchcraft back there.
Let's open it in the new craft. Really? I want Lyme disease if it gets weird. Maybe we don't want it. What happens?
Tick-borne bacterial disease, first conclusively identified in 1975. Named for the town in Connecticut, which it was observed. Every region of the U.S. and in Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia. It's caused by several closely related spirochetes, corkscrew-shaped bacteria. Spirochetes. Okay. I remember.
But you see what I'm saying?
My theory. It's been like a decade since I had this theory. But whatever was going on in the region around Salem, it was either maybe a plant or something they were consuming, or it was like there was bugs that were passing on diseases, making people the main side effect were hallucinations and delirium. So then you have all these people that are being identified as witches where crazy shit is happening. And even the normal people might be seeing weird stuff because they're ingesting or whatever.
Right.
And then it ends up falling out. Maybe they were just tripping balls. And, that's what happens.
I have so many questions right now.
I forgot I had that theory.
So, okay, let's take your theory into consideration. And this. Was there a lot of Lyme disease in the 1600s in Salem? Can we look that up?
Let's see. Alternate explanations for witchcraft around Salem in late 1600s.
Salem Witch Trials, what caused the hysteria? Ooh, that might be it. Here are 5 factors. Ooh.
Oh, this is the History Channel. All right.
We definitely are clicking that. Hang on. What do we got? The History Channel says...
Far from the only persecutions over witchcraft in the 17th century.
Yeah.
Women, children, and men, and 19 were executed.
So that's really not a lot. If 144 were accused, and 19 were executed after the local courts found them guilty. So this was like, you had to prove they were a witch.
Dude, that's almost 20 out of less than 200. So that's more than 10%.
It sounds like the accusers... Okay. I'm impressed that we didn't get rid of all those witches. Idea of witchcraft brought a threat.
Hey, we answered one of my questions. They brought it over here from England.
Yes, which is true. Like, that's so Puritan, right? Salem came at the tail end of a period of the witch persecutions. Oh, So that makes sense because remember, they all moved over here to be for freedom of religion, but they all really moved over here to just only do their religion. So anybody who wasn't a Protestant, they immediately took out.
Well, yeah, the freedom of religion was an excuse
Freedom
for
of only
us
your
to
religion.
go. Yeah, they came over here for freedom of religion, but they all expected everybody to be the same religion, so they
so that maybe that was the issue.
Yeah.
It said the doctor would point to witchcraft as the cause of patient's illness, but it was a legitimate diagnosis at the time. Witchcraft was the second capital crime listed in the Massachusetts Bay Colony's criminal code. Puritan worldview was mainstream. When they founded Massachusetts Bay Colony, John Winthrop delivered a sermon. So the Sermon on the Hill. Yeah, so this is exactly what you say. So there's like the Sermon on the Hill, in this case meaning a model Christian society with no separation of church and state. But as growing numbers of Quakers and Christians of other denominations arrived in Massachusetts, that's when it became more religiously diverse. Interesting.
The only thing I know about the Quakers is that the image of the dude on the Quaker Oats is based on. I swear they taught me more about them in school.
I need you to click
It's
Good Wives, Nasty Wenches, and Anxious Patriarchs. I'm going to read that book. We're going to read this book later. I'll buy the paperback.
$34.
I'll pay double the price.
1996? Dang. That's a 30-year-old book.
We should definitely read that book. How old are you?
6.
Oh, 30. That was fast.
I was almost 7. It was November of 96. I was like 6 and 9 months.
I graduated from high school in 1997.
All right, I'm going to close this tab. More than 300 years ago, 20 people were put to death for the crime of witchcraft during the Salem Witch Trials. The most horrific part, the Salem Witch Trials happened under the auspices. Oh.
Ooh, that's a good word.
I was going to say suspices. What's a suspice?
Auspices? Is that the right word?
Under the auspices of the law. Maybe I shouldn't read. Most of you guys at home can probably read better than I can. In public, anyways.
To understand and commemorate this dark period in our country's legal history, we're looking back the hocus pocus to the chilling adventures of Sabrina. It's clear that people love witches.
Ooh, pause. One other thing I know about Salem, that was the name of Sabrina's cat.
Yes, that's true. Witches are the most popular adult Halloween costume year after year.
I love Sabrina.
We should dress up like witches for Halloween.
I was kind of thinking of being a Ravenclaw, but I'm open. My daughter wants to match me when we go trick-or-treating, so I'm probably going to have a separate adult costume.
I have two glow-in-the-dark skeleton onesies.
Yeah, we were going to do that and record.
We should be wearing those right now.
No, we got plenty of time.
We do have time. Hang on, where were we? During the Salem Witch Trials, more than 20 of those people were executed, most by hanging. Yeah, so I saw that they were like executed by hanging, right? And
so here's my thing is, it sounds like hanging was effective. So we're still not quite sure.
We don't know why they burned witches. So the Salem trial, I mean, I'm definitely learning this.
Maybe hanging was more common in England and the Americans just wanted to switch it up. It could be that simple. Let's see what we can get towards. But
did they burn witches in Salem? We don't have that information yet.
I guess maybe that could be a rumor.
Can you look that up?
Well, let's find out. Let's see.
They did not burn witches in Salem during this.
Let's just kind of see what we can come across from here.
The girls were separating. So this is the beginning moment when the girls were playing around doing fortune telling, and then they got weird.
Right. So modern theories suggest those girls suffering from epilepsy, boredom, child abuse, mental illness, or even a disease brought on by eating rye
infected with fungus.
That's what it was. I remember hearing that part before and was like, what? Fungus, huh?
Look it up.
Tripping mushrooms. It's very, very plausible.
Rye infected with fungus, Salem Witch Trials.
Rye infected, or wait, hold on. I'm doing that backwards. Fungus infected rye near Salem during witch trial era.
This should get us there. Right?
Ergotism
forms in the rye after a severe winter and damp spring. Historians were claimed present in 1691 and therefore... So wait, is this the only
I want to back up a little
source
bit.
On the internet that has this?
So this theory came about in 1976 by Dr. Linda Caparel.
Okay.
Of the Rensselaer Polytechnical Institute, and proposed Perhaps the brief and intense illnesses suffered by so many of the townspeople were not bewitchment, but rather ergotism, a disease commonly contracted by rye, and later other historians agree. Yeah, it was tripping balls.
After the rye, the fungus grows and replaces shoots on the grain. So they were just eating, thinking, this is weird tasting. And then they were just having the best time.
Purple black growths that contain lysergic acid and ergotism. Lysergic acid is a part of LSD.
Is it?
Pretty sure.
Click the link. We need to know. So wait, these guys were accidentally doing LSD trips and people died?
I'm telling you, bro, they're tripping.
Lysergic acid is a lab-safe chemical. We're on PubChem. Man, we're not messing around today. We are using real sources.
And
but
abuse
what
may
does
lead
it
to modern.
do?
It is. I'm pretty sure it's a chemical.
Let's look it up.
Traces of LSD.
Let's get more information.
I might be getting a little too. It's probably LSD.
DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration.
LSD.
It had a psychological dependence.
Lysergic acid diethylamide. So it's part of LSD.
Oh, it is the LS in LSD. It's the L. It's the LS.
Yeah.
It's an alkaloid that occurs in various species of vines of the
Lysergic. Hold on. Lysergic acid versus LSD. I'm pretty sure LSD.
Oh, direct comparison. Open that up. We definitely want to read the direct comparison.
I'm pretty sure LSD metabolizes down into that, or the other way around. I like when I don't know something about a topic, but I know something about something that affected that topic.
Right, you're like, wait, we know what happened here. All right.
So, well, this is just comparing mushrooms to LSD. They tricked us.
We need to know. Well, is that the case? What is lysergic acid then?
I swear it's literally in the name LSD, but that D is something different.
Diethylmyhide.
It's a synthetic chemical.
So the LS
from
found in the ergot, which is a fungus that affects rye. Oh, it is LSD.
High five. Well, yes, figured it out.
Yes.
So you need lysergic acid to make LSD.
I don't think so. It is LSD. It's a fungus that infects the grain. It's a synthetic chemical. Oh.
Yeah.
You have to find the D. Did you hear what I just said?
No.
It was bad. It was all about finding the D.
Oh, well, good luck with that. I know where mine is.
I don't have one. So, okay.
Everybody was tripping balls and freaking out, having bad trips, and decided to kill some folks over it. So that explains...
And that's why we don't have natural medicine today?
That explains a lot about what's going on. However, it doesn't explain why they chose to burn them, so we still got to get there.
We do. We're going to look that up. Did they burn witches in Salem?
Yes, and then we can find out why. That makes sense. However,
because I could have been wrong.
It started with three little girls.
They burned them.
It started with three little girls, right? I want to connect the dots to how they got to 19. And were those three little girls? Were they burned? Did those three little girls die?
Oh, okay. We have a lot of information. Fungus is commonly found in rye.
St. Anthony's fire or holy fire.
So basically, these people accidentally created LSD.
They didn't create it. It was just they just found it that way.
Yeah. The fungus is most commonly found in rye, but it can affect other grains and grasses too. When humans get it, it's called St. Anthony's fire or holy fire. The names refer to the symptoms: burning sensations in your arm and leg. The way people acted when they were poisoned has been associated with witchcraft. Okay. Oh, that's why they're saying my arms are on fire. Wait, is that why we think that they burned the witches?
I think we were.
Holy fire is what we thought. Do you understand what I'm saying right now? We thought they burned the witches, but no, they didn't burn the witches. The witches were giving you holy fire.
We don't know that.
St. Anthony's fire.
We don't know that for sure yet. They may have actually been burning witches.
We saw such as burning sensations.
So I think it's fair to say this is very, very
there are two forms
possible,
of ergotism.
Even likely.
Number one is gangrene, and that's when your hands, feet, and whole limbs can swell and fall off. Number two is convulsions, hallucinations, and muscle spasms, severe diarrhea, and other symptoms. One of them sucks, and the other one's a mushroom trip.
All right, so I guess now it's...
I mean, that's a mushroom trip right there.
How were witches executed during the Salem?
They were hung. We need to know, were witches burned in Salem? They were all hung. 14 women and 5 men. The hangings took place in the Proctor's Lodge.
Okay. So clearly, if they ever burned them, I guess.
Yeah, we
It
need to know.
wasn't in Salem. That's
Let's
what
look it
I
up.
always heard.
I know, that's what I know. Look up were witches ever burned in Salem?
Where did burning at the stake come from if it wasn't from...
Accused witches in Salem were hanged, not burned.
Hey, myth busting. Myth number 1. Witches were burned at the stake. That wasn't true.
Burning was done in Europe during the medieval ages. Accused witches in Salem were hanged, not burned, but the hangings were horrible. Yeah. They turned victims off a ladder, so they slowly strangled to death. They didn't break their necks, so that is awful. Giles Corey was pressed to death with stones for refusing to enter a plea when charged with witchcraft.
Just crushed him with stones? Damn. All right. Here's your thing, your float test.
Yes. Okay. Read it.
Float test determine if someone is guilty or innocent. Stories circulate about Salem's witch test would include throwing a suspected witch into water while bound, and if they floated, they were a witch, and if they drowned, too bad, but at least they weren't a witch.
I told you!
Bro, that's lose-lose.
Yes! Either you're a witch...
or you're dead.
Oh, but it's a myth carried over, just like burning at the stake.
Oh, thank
it
God.
wasn't happening in 17th century New England, but 2 standard witch tests were still being performed. The first was to see if the accused witch could recite the Lord's Prayer. The other was to look for physical signs on the witch's body.
What's a physical sign?
I don't know.
Being
So the
a
witches
witch?
in Salem consisted mainly of a physical examination for the witch's teeth, which the Puritans believed was a sort of third nip. What? This was just so guys could look at these girls' boobs.
Woe be unto a woman with skin tags or a weird mole. That explains why a lot of witches in cartoons, especially like
Have
Disney,
moles.
have or skin tags on their noses and
And
stuff.
moles and stuff.
Bro, that's wild.
Because that's a witch's teat, which was believed was sort of a third nipple,
Man,
from
people
which a witch's familiar would suck blood, like the cat.
No, I feel like a familiar.
Yeah, no, that's what a witch's familiar
demon.
is. Nope, a witch's
Oh.
familiar is your animal. That I'm not gonna lie.
So then it's
Have a
then it
conversation
must believe the
about
cat isn't really a cat. Sort of like
no, a
vampires
witch's
turn into
familiar
bats
is a
thing.
demon. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, Salem the cat wasn't actually a cat,
You
right?
know what's funny is,
Actually, that Salem's a great example.
bro, people been shallow even back then. We think we're shallow these days.
This is just ugly people.
She got a mole. She a witch.
You're not wrong. This was just like they just burned some really ugly people.
Well, how do we know if she's a witch or not? I don't know. Tie her up and throw her in the lake. If she doesn't drown, she's a witch. If she drowns, at least she's not a witch.
How do you know she turned me into a nude? You're not a nude.
Bro,
Not better.
what is...
We should watch that movie. Is it, what's the name of that movie? Monty Python
And
and
the Holy Grail.
No, is the yes. You're definitely correct.
It's not related to this in any way, though.
It actually is because they that's the thing. Okay, if you watch the History of the World Part 1, it is very scarily accurate. I bet we could actually pull a lot of really accurate information out of the Holy Grail.
Nights were ending, I think, around the time witch trials, even the earliest.
Can we look at
estimate
how are
they
knights
even
involved
began.
in witchcraft?
I don't think...
I mean, they were definitely involved because witches lived inside of
I don't
castles. You had a wizard living in your castle, like doing castle shit. The only reason that didn't carry over to America was because the Puritans were like
But I wanna see
trying
what
to
the
control
facts
shit
are.
with their, I'm sorry, what? Purity culture? Oh, surprise.
I want to get to the facts.
They're literally the Puritans.
Well, I get that.
They don't need the facts. I already know what happened. Some men wanted only the pretty girls alive, so they killed all the old, moly, ugly girls. Oh, the significant factor was the family feud in Salem. So it was split into 2 areas, which is Salem Village, which we looked up earlier, and
That's where all the
which is
problems
the
were.
town,
Yeah.
right? And then Salem Town, which is the more developed area. And so they were always fighting, and they're basically saying, like, you're being witchy out there, right?
It's kind of similar to other parts of Forsyth County that wanted Oscarville residents out.
Ooh, right? The whole, oh, you're not wrong.
With Lake Lanier, yeah, and all of that.
This led to a massive feud between 2 families, which spread through Salem. Approximately 60 to 65% came from people living in the West End, and the vast majority was somehow connected to the Putnam family.
Yeah.
The bulk of those accused were from the east end of the village, either belonged to or were connected to the Porter family.
The Putnams and
Putnams
the
and the
Porters.
Porters.
Man, if you were named Smith, you were chilling.
Yeah. But yeah, because you were busy making stuff. You're a blacksmith. Putnams and the Porters fed into each other and ultimately produced the hysteria that became the Salem Witch Trials.
Fact number 2, mainly targeted women, yes. However, there was a man accused, and he refused to enter a plea, so they crushed him with rocks.
Uppy. They didn't discount the possibility of men being witches, but they considered it less likely because men were supposedly more emotionally, spiritually, and intellectually mature. And we're gonna you know what? There's no reason for us to have this conversation. It's 2024, and we disagree, don't we, Zach?
I know that's not true at all.
There we go. All right, so
I know way too many men that have no idea what's going on emotionally with themselves, and the only reason I do is because of therapy.
And like, you're still not great at it.
I graduated though.
Yeah, you might want to go back for like level 2 though.
Yeah, I'm chilling.
Level 2. The trials began in late summer of 1692 and ended in early spring. Okay. 20 people were executed as witches.
It lasted less than a year, not even one full year.
But they say that Smith suggested I told you it indicated a certain degree of restraint, considering that 300 were only accused.
Kind of, but that's just, if 60 to 65% were from one family pointing the finger at another family.
And here's how it all ends. Hang on. Somebody mentioned the Massachusetts governor as a possible witch, and bro said, "We're done here. Clear what's on your docket, and then we're done." He literally said, "We're done here." And then he started commuting the sentence every time they found someone guilty and sentenced to be hanged. So he stopped that before 16. He was like, "We're not doing this."
He realized how stupid that shit was.
He was like, "This is what we're putting people to death because these people are fighting."
The actual governor of Massachusetts, not even like a mayor or like gay or anything.
Despite executing 20 innocent people, neither the town of Salem nor the state of Massachusetts provided justice to the victims and their families.
Duh.
There were no repercussions for anyone involved in the Salem Witch Trials.
Oops, our bad.
There
Not
wasn't
even say our
even
bad.
an official acknowledgement of the wrongdoings for over 2 centuries.
It's just gonna be like, oops, we done did some.
In the early 1700s, the colony of Massachusetts began quietly paying compensation to the survivors and family. Really? But there was no public. So wait, if you're a survivor of this, do you get paid still? Like, is this like Indian money? If someone in your family was killed, do you still get paid to this day? Wait, I guess we're going to find out. Now, what do we wanted to know?
I guess, why did they burn the witches in Salem? It didn't happen. So I guess, why did they burn them elsewhere? We could find out. But
yeah, why did they choose to burn them? The holy fire is what the witches thought. Witches gave people holy fire.
Oh, I understand that. And that makes sense. That's
right.
Fair. I specifically always heard
that
witches burned
in
at
Salem.
the stake. I'm talking like tied up or even like crucifix style.
Right. Like
lit on fire.
Their cat at the base and shit.
And to top off what I've heard, that's what's furthered in movies and like TV about it.
Right. And we're saying witches were never burned in Salem.
If we see it so much in movies and TV and stuff like that, it sounds like they took it from European history way back.
Then,
it probably stopped.
And then they moved it to...
That was probably happening in medieval times, because that's brutal. And once they started, we can kill them with hanging, okay. One thing I noticed, the facts were all way less cool than the myths.
So basically, 2 families got in a fight who had money, and they were basically fighting over this amazing port of Salem.
Kind of always like
Massachusetts. That. Yeah. Right? Like Boston. Where's Salem in comparison to Boston? Like, I don't know where on the map they are together. I just don't know.
Salem. Yeah.
So this is just controlling this little inlet.
So
this is all about that tiny little inlet.
It's about, I would say it's probably like 30 to 40 miles out from Boston.
And maybe here's the thing, though. Boston. It is like this beautiful, perfect little, I don't even know. But this area,
sounds fancy.
This was just a really nicely protected little cove. That's all. And Salem controlled the entire cove, right? So they controlled all this waterway that was nice and protected from the scariness. So this was just a fight over water, which means goods.
At least it didn't turn out like Flint. We saw how that one went.
It's always about the water.
I love how it's like the House of the Seven Gables, Salem Hospital, Proctor's Ledge Memorial, Dollar Tree, Burger King.
Burger King. Ooh, I want Burger King.
They still did me dirty.
You're still mad at Burger King.
I haven't checked my email to see if they made it right, but
we'll find out.
$40 worth of food and only got like Happy Meal basically.
One Happy Meal. That's what I want.
But like an adult Happy Meal kind of. I get like a Whopper, but still. So in theory,
That's
a vacation to Boston, and you can do a day trip up to Salem and stay there all day and come back at night.
I really want to go to Salem.
We might have to do a pod from Salem or something.
I want to do a Salem pod.
Baker's Island? Oh, that sounds awesome just because baking's in the name. What do they do there? It's like highlighted like Salem is. I think it belongs here. And all these little dots.
Is it a part of Salem?
Oh,
that is definitely Salem. Oh, that's spooky and shit. We've now discovered the entire Salem Witch Trials were literally just to fight over, like, who had access to the fort.
Why were witches ever burned at the stake?
A traditional form of execution for women found guilty. Fire was the only way to cure the association with the devil and his demons. It's baptism by fire.
I haven't gone through that, but in situations where it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And
that's why you get a trial by fire. That's the whole, like, trial by fire was literally, it's witches.
You know what's funny? It's the same thing as sink or swim if you think about it conceptually, and that was also a witch test.
Yeah, it's a witch test, and the only people that can get out of the test are witches. Man.
Okay, so that...
Witch tests suck.
So the burning piece itself seems to be more of a religious aspect.
Yeah, it's religious.
It's like a superstition, yeah. You know what I don't get? If they believe that burning them is a baptism by fire, but they believe that it's like demonic and comes from the devil, then isn't that giving them what they wanted? Sending them back where they belong?
I mean, do they care? I think they were purifying them and sending the devil back.
I would have almost expected forced drowning them with literal baptisms, just forced.
That's what they're doing, right?
Baptism by fire? No, I'm talking water.
Most accusations were personal rivalries and disputes. Yeah, we knew that.
Put the fire out. They believed they had to, but almost is kind of equivalent of they felt like it.
Yeah, they burned them because that's how they sent the devil back.
You know what I hate about myself?
What?
The fact that I see the silver lining is they didn't have to dispose of the bodies.
What the? Maybe that's why they did it.
Kind of literally just leads into cremation. They just started the cremation process before these people were dead.
But this punishment was also known as baptism by. That's literally the point. They're saying we're going to send the devil back and we're going to burn the devil out of you and we're going to send you up, right? Yeah. So now we know why they burn witches, because it was to burn the devil out of them.
Man, people have just always been savage. I think it's just human nature, or you think this is an evolution type style thing?
I think people suck. If you got really mad and weren't as like evolved as we were today, no, people still totally kill each other over religion all the time.
So I guess the answer to the why for me, simply put, because I feel like there's a million different reasons, but it's going to be like personal beliefs and or religious spiritual beliefs about that. Like
witches were not burned at the stake in America.
No, definitely not in Salem.
So that's what we discovered more than anything. So what is our next? What are we looking at right now?
Well, the why were they burned at the stake in general is
probably send the devil back into the ground.
Yeah, okay. So
purified.
I want to revisit those three girls though. And
what happened to them?
Back here where we were getting
the daughters, the Putnam family, right?
Yeah. So it was
Putnam family's in-laws ended up being.
They were 9.
Betty bewitched by Tituba.
So these were three.
So they were bewitched by Tituba. Who is Tituba?
Well, so we jumped away. Our ADHD is flying off the handle. But Tituba was the wife of one of the dudes.
They came from Barbados, and that was the voodoo.
Yes.
Got it.
John Indian, a man, and Tituba, a woman, were 2 slaves who were originally from Barbados.
Okay. And that's when they're saying...
I guess Tituba was not so much.
So wait. So modern day, like American witchcraft, as we know it, came from Barbados. It's voodoo.
'Tis from the islands, man.
I don't think that's okay. Oh, God.
Were they being looked at as witches, the 3 girls? Because now it doesn't seem like that.
The magistrates then had also accepted evidence of the presence of... so the girls said Tituba did this to them.
No, hold on. Look at this.
Did Tituba die?
So look at this. Both Good and Osborne protested their own innocence, though Good accused Osborne.
Who's that?
Initially, Tituba also claimed to be blameless, but why would they protest their innocence? So they're saying they were innocent. They're saying they're innocent. No, they're saying they were guilty, and then Good also accused Osborne. Betty and Abigail claimed to be bewitched by Tituba and 2 other marginalized members of the community, neither of whom attended the church regularly. Sarah Good, an irascible beggar, and Sarah Osborne, also spelled Osborne. English spelling, an elderly bedridden woman who was scorned for a romantic involvement.
And that's
with
Hocus
an
Pocus.
indentured service.
The three witches, right?
Okay.
Tituba, Good, and Osborne. Yeah. The girls who were they were never even considered.
So maybe they did claim they were innocent. That's just worded funny.
Yeah, it's just worded weirdly. Yeah.
That's on me. Yeah. I'm an idiot. Okay.
So in 3 days of vivid testimony, she described his encounter with Satan's animal familiars and a tall, dark man from Boston who had been called upon her to sign the Devil's Book, in which she saw the names of Good and Osborne along with those of 7 others that she could not read.
Interesting. Okay. What? So now they had a confession. Well, that answers, I don't think they killed those 3 girls.
Right, because the accused were just enemies of the Putnams. Yeah. And the Putnam families and members and in-laws would end up being the accusers in dozens of cases. So these women were just like bitches. Man, this is just this was some Mean Girl shit. You were right. You said it was just Mean Girl shit.
I mean, even Tina Fey's version had a burn book.
I mean, wait. Will you say if Mean Girls was based on the Salem Witch Trials? I think it might have been. Wait.
That seems awfully specific. The Crucible, that's what it's based on.
But
I believe.
It does explore a similar thing. What is the Mean Girls based on? Was it the Crucible? Because that is the Salem Witch Trials. What is Mean Girls based on?
I think Mean Girls is based on the Crucible, actually.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what is Mean Girls based on?
Let's find out. Hold on.
I'm looking it up myself.
Okay, well there.
I'll let you guys know.
Okay, well, so those little girls didn't get killed. That's cool. I thought they might have.
Mean Girls and the Crucible. The Crucible and Mean Girls Allegorical Connection Project. Okay, I'm not crazy. You should type in Mean Girls and the Crucible on the internet. I'm now just telling you guys about it from here, and that feels unfair. You need to get involved. Mean Girls basically is what happened during the Salem Witch Trial. You weren't wrong. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say this, but like you were super right about it just being girls being bitches.
I mean, like the Crucible, I've read once and seen the movie adaptation, the first one that they did that was like for schools or whatever, probably once.
And it was just bitchy. It was just girls being.
Well, no, the Crucible was like, I mean, it was like a period piece. So it was like, I remember a dude trying to keep his chick from being murdered. And I think they were planning on burning her at this. Nah, Scarlet Letter's where she has to wear an A on her. Or
oh, yeah, you're right.
That was Easy A retold that.
Oh, oh my God, how good is it? Just please click it for me. I've been trying to get you to click it for so long.
Well, then say click it.
I did, like so many times. Yes, this is what I want. Connections. Witchcraft in the Burn Book. Abby and Regina. Yes. Elizabeth and Candy.
Kathy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Katie, right? Is that how she said it? Katie, yeah. Janice and Proctor. I agree with this.
Yeah, but you were saying it sounds like they're not related, but people connect them.
That's literally what this is. If they're not related anyway, they're not. This is just somebody basically wrote a paper on this, agreeing with us. We're just not the first ones to come up to this conclusion.
I mean,
because internet, right?
What is this? Works cited? Oh, this
is like someone's presentation in school
that they published. What the fuck?
They just put it. It's probably for school. 2017, they put this together. Click the works cited.
I'm not diving into their presentation anymore.
Why not? It was great.
No, these could have been like high school kids. Prezi.
You know what? That's great though. They gave us all the information I needed.
I just needed to know whether it was an intentional retelling, but it's not.
It's not, that we know that. That's what we found out. It's not an intentional retelling. It just happens to have a lot of
to be plenty of same
that's it.
Elements.
And you were right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's all we found that out. Are you not listening to me?
So what do I know so far? They hanged witches, not burned them.
Yes.
Okay. Most of them were from same hanged.
They hung witches?
They hanged them.
They hanged. You're right. Hanged.
Those witches were hanged. Yes. The one dude.
Were they well hanged?
The one dude they crushed.
They were definitely not hung. Those witches were.
That, you know what's funny? They crushed him with stones because he wasn't hung.
They wasn't hung. Those witches.
It's not funny though when you say witches and it was women. Now if they had hung that guy, that would have wrote itself.
Okay.
They crushed him with stones. Maybe they were his stones.
Wait,
crushed him to the weight of his own stones.
You think that was the problem? He had too much stones.
They couldn't hang him. He wasn't hung because his balls were too big.
Yeah, so they stoned him.
All of this is hitting the cutting room floor.
We want to be clear. None of this goes on the internet.
The actual burning was done in England and was because they're baptizing people by fire.
Right, baptism by fire. The reason we thought witches were burnt. Wait, this is important. The reason we thought witches were burnt was because witches gave people holy fire, which was actually just mushroom in rye bread.
No, not mushroom, LSD.
Yeah, LSD and rye bread. Yeah, you're right.
The same. But so not necessarily.
Mushrooms and LSD are not the same.
Because
you heard it here first, kids.
You're saying that you thought that witches were bewitching people with the holy fire. Yeah, but
that's why we thought. That's why we have put that together.
No. I specifically saw images of witches being tied up and burned at a stake in media.
Yeah.
Film,
you
TV
think it's media,
stuff.
film, and TV?
I know
lied.
I'm just saying specifically that's where I got it from. They're not lying.
Right. They are lying.
Not if it happened in England.
But they are lying when they make it happen in Salem. Which anytime they ever make it happen in an American witch trial, it should not happen.
So here's what I think.
American
I don't know that I've
ever
ever actually seen
not
it
burned.
Set in Salem.
Hanged.
I feel like there's just movies and TV shows where they burn witches at the stake and it's a general setting. Could be a made up fiction show.
Right.
And that's
baptism by fire.
People take what they know about Salem and combine it, and then the general consensus is like, yeah, they were burning witches at the stake in Salem.
Groupthink, which actually did cause the Salem Witch Trials, we now know. Groupthink and also LSD. We now know that is a problem.
This is stuff people could easily check, but it doesn't come readily to mind, and that's what we're here for.
Now we know. Do we have all the information?
No, I think there's still one more thing that I was wanting to ask.
What do you want to know?
I can't remember. Man, witches getting burned at the stake never happened in Salem. And I definitely didn't think that was something I was going to find out today.
I didn't think I was going to find that out either. That's interesting, though. Think about it.
That's kind of cool.
They were hanged, and witches that were burned were in Europe, and that was a baptism by fire.
Can we just talk about how scary it would have been for 300 accusations to fly in this relatively small community?
Right. That's basically every woman.
Less than a year.
And they're like, no, we showed restraint. Out of 300, we only hung like 20. And they're like, yeah, no.
See, in the first numbers we saw were like 160 to 185. Then we saw 300. So if it's 160, 185, then you're up above 10%. But if it's 300, then you're below 10%.
So
and that's
we're clear, it's still too many.
Oh yeah, I mean that shouldn't have been happening, but these motherfuckers were tripping.
And then remember they accused his wife, and he was like, skirt, no.
You know what? To be fair, if you are tripping and you don't know or you didn't consent to it, that would be terrible.
It would be terrifying.
Poor Salem.
But maybe you shouldn't have killed people.
I mean, it was pre-1700. There's no way they could scientifically even really know what was going on.
Yeah. Okay.
Most of the time, they find out when an animal gets into it and starts acting funny. Then they're like, let's not eat that. So they must not have had any animals that were eating rye at the time.
Did the rye make animals? It probably did. I mean, but animals are animals.
I mean, pigs eat anything. And a lot of farmers know that, like, their mash or whatever they're giving their pigs has fermented when the pigs get drunk from eating certain patches of area. Yeah.
And that's Zack and Jamie need to know. You're welcome.
No, you're not welcome. It was our pleasure. My pleasure.
Have a nice day and watch out for the big yellow chicken.